Can we play a word association game real quick?
I suppose.
Okay, so Google.
Free breakfast.
Gowalla.
Handsome.
Looped.
Handsome.
Facebook.
Handsome.
The new prince of social, Dennis Crowley, is used to fielding questions about his competitors. Foursquare is the widely regarded frontrunner in the red-hot location-based service race. For Crowley, this is round two. His first LBS, Dodgeball, was sold to Google in 2005 and folded in 2009 when Google gave up. Foursquare, he says, will be different.
We knew that Dodgeball was kind of a lousy one-player experience. If you didn't have 10 friends that were using it all the time, it just wasn't a very compelling thing. And so part of the reason to take some of the game mechanic thinking and drop it into Foursquare is because it makes it more of a fun one-player game. Like, there's a reason to check in outside of just letting your friends know where you are. Like, you can discover these rewards, you can like earn badges, you earn points, and that was, you know, a lot of the thinking initially. I also think, you know, Dodgeball had this big like hipsters drinking beer problem, and you know, I think it prohibited the service growing as quickly as we wanted it to.
And what about funding? How did you approach funding after, you know, what happened with Google and Dodgeball? I mean, I imagine you're a little bit more cautious this time around, and plus you have some money in the bank.
You know, doing the Series A for Foursquare was almost as difficult as doing it for Dodgeball. Mm-hmm. You know, because it was really, like, the ideas are relatively similar, and people were like, well, this didn't work before, why is it going to work again? And, you know, we hustled almost 6 months from March till September, you know, in order to get people really excited about what we're doing.
The app was born in a mad dash. The death of Dodgeball marked the birth of Foursquare. The first version was hammered out in 3 months.
It wasn't until January when Google announced that they were going to shut down Dodgeball that we really got serious about it. We said, we need to build this by the time that they turn it off, and, you know, we should pick South by Southwest as a point to launch it. And so, you know, we were pretty lazy up until that January, but once you know, that Dodgeball event happened, and once, you know, we set our sights on South by Southwest, like, those last 3 months were kind of crazy.
Yeah, just gunning towards that was probably the most exciting thing to do, because we had no idea what the response would be like, because maybe only about 80 of our friends had really even seen it here in New York and San Francisco and a couple of other cities around the US. So we had no idea what it would be like when we finally launched it, and it was just leading up to that, day and night of just nonstop work, nonstop coding, just stay up all night and try to get something good out in preparation for this deadline that we had, this deadline of South by Southwest.
And a lot of the stuff went through like 2 or 3 different versions, and we ended up throwing out a lot of it and keep making the product a lot simpler for South by Southwest. You know, we knew that we wanted to do check-ins, we knew that we wanted to do game mechanics, and we knew that we wanted to do something around tips. And you know, I remember Naveen and I like kind of butting heads about, like, should we fit all three things into the V1, or should we just kind of roll them out over time? And I'm really glad that we stuck everything in there for the South by Southwest launch.
Just over 1 year since its South by Southwest launch, Foursquare has some 1.8 million users and 25 employees. At the time of our visit, the company was still sharing a small office in New York with 2 other startups. Growing up hasn't been easy, but he says they'll be ready if they ever hit that 100 million mark.
We know what the roadmap is, we just have to get it all built and executed. So I think one of the tricky things is, because we're growing so quickly, it's like, it's not, you know, just me and Naveen hammering out features like day after day. It's like, now there's a product team, and now there's an engineering team. And so, you know, I think every organization goes through this, but like, we're growing very quickly, and this is getting all the pieces to play nice together. The thing we're struggling with is just like, where are people going to see? Like, Tristan's over there sitting on a bench. Like, Harry moves to a different seat every day. Like, we're shuttling up and down, you know, 3 flights of stairs where we have like 2 different teams running. So that stuff's a little bit of a pain, but, you know, we move upstairs and all that stuff goes away.
How do you try to stay involved and keep the pieces moving?
Yeah, we used to do, like, when we were 6 people or so, we would do a Monday morning meeting in which everyone would sit around this conference room table, and you know, we would just talk about what we were working on over the last week or so. And when we hit like 6 or 7 or 8 people, that stopped working. And so now we have individual group meetings, and so there's like individual groups go out for lunch and coordinate. Every 2 weeks we try to do like an all hands meeting in which we disclose some of the things that we're working on and some of the you know, things that we're thinking about and what's coming up immediately, more like a big company status. And then a lot of guys here do these stand-up meetings, which is, you know, it's not a meeting where you go and sit, it's just a whole bunch of people stand around for 5 minutes and you talk about the things that you're having problems with, and you try to find someone that you can connect with to find a solution. And those are working, you know, those are turning out to be pretty, you know, pretty successful at getting things fixed and getting things done.
On many levels, you're trying to adjust for further growth ahead. For example, like taking on a new office in this building, right? But then how do you deal with it on the mass market level? You know, anticipating that you are going to be huge, right? How do you prepare for growth and not have the type of outages, for example, that Twitter has had to deal with, you know, the type of user problems other sites that have gone huge have had to wrestle with?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're in a good position that, like, in the sense that we're not going through this for the first time. Like, other people have gone through this, and other startups have struggled, and we can learn from some of the things that have troubled them, and we can set ourselves up accordingly. Like, I don't think any, you know, outside of Facebook and Twitter, like, if other startups really experienced growth that quickly, and now we can look at what we're doing and say, okay, if we you know, hit all the things in the right order, we're going to hit that type of scale, and so at least it's not unexpected. We know it, you know, we know it's coming.
So back to the question of competition. Who's their #1 rival? Despite comparisons, the answer, Crowley says, is not Koala.
I think, you know, we're looking at the guys above us. Like, those are the guys that we're going to end up competing with. You know,
Who are the guys above you?
Well, it's Twitter and Facebook. You know, these are, like, we aspire to build things that are as amazing as the platforms that they've created, and I think we've got a good shot of getting there. I'm sure Facebook's going to do something with geolocation. Like, Twitter's already doing stuff with geolocation, but you know, we have a specific action. Like, we're all about check-ins. We're all about discovery of places. We're all about introducing people to new experiences, and you know, and we're about rewarding people for doing those things. And that's something, you know, those are 4 things that do not exist in those other products, and I think that's a good space for us to play in.